Welcome back to With the First Pick on this edition of The Perfect Fix. We're going to fix the old Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm Ryan Wilson. That's former Titans GM Rand Carthon. And before we get rolling here, as always, hey, Jags fans, let us know in the comments what you think the biggest needs is facing this team heading to the offseason, because we always loved hearing from you guys. So let us know what you think. All right, Rand, you worked with Jags GM James Gladstone when he first got started in the league back in the day in Los Angeles, and he and first-year head coach Liam Cohen, they took a 4-win team, turned it into a 13-win team. That's a pretty good start. Franchise quarterback finally looked like a franchise quarterback a little bit more consistently. First-year defensive coordinator Anthony Campanelli got things going defensively, and 30-year-old OC Grant Udinsky, both those guys had some looks in terms of head coaching sniffs this offseason. Both decided to return to Jacksonville. So my question to you is, we talk a lot about coaching staff continuity and keeping the old band together in Jacksonville. Feels like a pretty good start in terms of building on the things that you did in 2025 and not having to worry about some of the logistical stuff as you move through the offseason here.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to run it back, and especially after your first year as a group. And so for Jacksonville, they may want to take advantage of this window, because I'm not so sure that both coordinators will be back following this season. And so, it's one of those situations where Liam Cohen obviously did a great job. He was a finalist for head coach of the year and arguably should have won it. I know who I would have voted for if I had a vote, since everybody likes to say they have a vote. I didn't have one, but I know who I would have voted for. But I will say this coaching staff as a whole is a really good unit. I mean, Grant Udinsky, 30 years old, hadn't called plays in the National Football League and was a finalist for, I think, 2 jobs off the top of my head. And so, it'll be interesting to see, because trust me, they didn't just make the decision just to go back, right? With these coordinators now getting paid tons of money. We saw what Chip Kelly was making as offensive coordinator before he was fired. We saw the report of what Brian Flores is making as the defensive coordinator return to Minnesota. I'm pretty sure these guys got nice, hefty pay increases to return. So it'll be a good thing for the Jacksonville Jaguars, this fan base, that organization. They have those 3 men back working together for another year.
Yeah, those guys getting that with the first pick money. You love to see it. The Jaguars, why are you laughing? The Jaguars are number 24 in available salary cap space, and check mark is always ran, but they'll have to clear about $9.2 million to be compliant in the next few weeks. So let's list the old names of guys that will be free agents, and you tell me where we stand on their importance. You look here at the graphic via producer Stryker. Devin Lloyd, the former first-round pick, Travis Etienne, the former first-round pick, and Travis Lawrence's draft class, Trevor Lawrence's draft class, Greg Newsome, the cornerback, Andrew Wingard, the safety, Monteric Brown, some other names, Emmanuel Agba. We have Greg Newsome on that list, DeJuan Smoot, and DJ Dallas did a little spot duty at times of special teams duty. Any of those names are worth keeping around once you figure out the salary cap situation?
Well, honestly, man, just looking, and we'll just go off this list, this graphic that producer Stryker put together. I mean, there's a world where none of these guys are back. If you're being quite honest about it, you said they have there'll be roughly $9.2 million over the cap, and you're going to have to clear space. So where's that space going to come from if you want to sign these guys? You have Walker Little, who's carrying a cap number of $14.5 million. But if he's cut, they have an $18.2 million dead cap hit. Now, here's the issue for Jacksonville. Jacksonville currently has $42 million in dead cap space. So that's a ton. So this is the list of guys that I'm going to go over. It's either cap casualty or reworking contracts. So I mentioned Walker Little, Patrick McCarry, a guy that has a $14.7 million cap number, which features a $14.6 million dead cap hit. And then a guy I put down, Eric Armstead. His cap number for this year is $19.4 million, carries a $17.1 million dead cap hit, but his P5, his paragraph 5, is what we call the salary. So his salary for 2026 is $14 million. So you can convert some of that into a signing bonus, add a year on to the deal, kind of kick the can down the road, and that will free up some space. But it's a situation, again, going back to those guys that were on that graphic. There's a world where Travis Etienne won't be back. There's a world where Devin Lloyd won't be back. Greg Newsome, I think, will be one that they'll try to figure out, but I think he'll likely outprice himself.
Yeah.
And with the, getting Travis Hunter back, I know they want to be more committed to him playing wide receiver, but I just think in that wide receiver room right now, it's a little crowded. And I think the best thing for Travis Hunter would be to make the full-time transition to corner and have some packages for him at wide receiver.
Yeah, and Andrew Wingard, we're sort of glossing over that name, but he sort of stepped in and played a big role down the stretch, and you wonder if he'll come back at the right price because he's not going to get top-tier safety money, you would think. But when you fill out the rest of the roster, 42 to 53, these are the considerations you have to weigh, especially as you talk about the dead cap money in addition to the -9 and change million that they're currently over the salary cap. All right, so the Jaguars don't have a first-round pick because of Travis Hunter, which is probably he'd have been a top 5 pick in this class as well. Got to get him healthy. But they still have 10 picks, including a second and 3 third-rounders. So let's play the old game here. Most bang for the buck with their first pick, which will be pick 56, given their needs. You mentioned Makari. They have some other guys that are going to be hitting the old free agency market there. So here we go. This will be, we'll say second. You can push third if you don't feel great about it. Your guy, Jake Slaughter, center out of Florida. For the interior, Fernando Carmona. I don't know if you watch him yet, or Arkansas. He plays guard. He was in the Senior Bowl. He's a really good player. Maybe a bolster the defensive line, Dominic Orange out of Iowa State. And maybe bolster the secondary, Malik Muhammad, cornerback out of Texas. Those guys in round 2, in terms of bang for the buck, immediate impact in 26. Anybody get you going there?
I would say, in terms of getting me going, not really.
And you can offer up your own answer too if you just.
Wyatt Milam is a guy they took in the 3rd round last year, out of West Virginia, that they really like, and so that's why I'm like this. The center part, him playing center or finding a center for them doesn't really worry me. The defensive tackle position will be one, for them to kind of continue to add bodies. I'd be interested to see how they're going to play Trayvon Walker moving forward, and see if there's a world where they kick him inside a little bit more and let him play a little bit more inside. So that'll be up for a conversation. I just think in terms of the Jacksonville Jaguars, because I have down as their positions of need, I have defensive tackle, I have corner, I have interior offensive line, linebacker, tight end. I think when you're sitting there at, what'd you say, pick 56?
56, yeah.
Yeah, with pick 56 as your first pick, I think it's a best player available spot, because you're following that with 2 threes. With 3 threes, excuse me. So you'll be able to fill some other needs, and they've done a good job. They really did a good job with this year's draft class. I think just sitting there at 56, I don't think you target any specific position. I think you see how the board's going to fall. There'll be a player there that they probably weren't anticipating.
Right.
So just take best player available at 56.
Yeah, that's right. So if a player can fall to them in a position they don't necessarily need, but it's almost hard to pass up. So, for wide receivers there, for example, that they love, that's not outside their own possibility, I would imagine. So, all right. Well, I've been pretty good about these things. You didn't love that one, so we'll put that on the list. Jags fans, let me know and let Rand know who you would like to see position-wise or a player the Jaguars to target on day 2. You can go 2nd round or even the 3rd round picks if you want to get crazy. I'm curious what you guys think about that. All right, Jim Moore, time striker.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
All right, Rand. So we talked the other day about fixing the New England Patriots, and we talked about their 2026 path felt a lot more difficult, in part because of the teams like the Jags being on the rise. So I think Jacksonville's going to be a favorite in the AFC South. That doesn't seem like a stretch to me. And given that the coaching staff is going to be back and the roster's in pretty good shape, this team should be better next season. So with that said, do you agree with that, or do you have some reservations about building on this 13-win 2025 campaign?
No, I think they're going to build upon it. This is a good team. I think they've, again, done a good job in terms of building the roster. and building the roster with sustainability in mind. So I definitely think they will be in the playoff hunt again. But we're looking at this division. You talk about the Colts. You talk about the Texans. We saw the Texans. Their defense is one of the best in the league. The Titans will be looking to make a wholesale shift, bringing in Robert Saleh. So there'll be some more energy, some juice there. Those games are going to always be competitive. But then you look at their home schedule that they have coming up. You have the aforementioned Patriots, the Eagles, the Browns, the Commanders, and you look who they have to play on the road. You got to go play at Baltimore, at the Bengals, at Dallas, at the Giants, and Broncos and Bears. It's a tough schedule. I know this graphic says the 11th easiest strength of schedule in the NFL in 2026, and that's based on the opponent record in 25. I'm not so sure that number will hold true, because that looks like a tough schedule to me. But again, they do have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs.
And I think it's fair to say, and that's the good point about the strength of schedule, because that's what we use, but I would be interested to see what the research says about what the strength of schedule looks like the year before based on what actually played out in terms of how good those teams were. The other thing I was going to say before we get out of here is it's probably safe to assume that Trevor Lawrence, who made a pretty big leap last year, is going to make an even bigger leap because of the continuity of the coaching staff and Liam Cohen and Udinski. You agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you go back, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but Trevor Lawrence has had, 4 or 5 coordinators throughout his whole career. So I would be interested to know, and let us know in the comments, like, how many consecutive years has Trevor Lawrence played with the same coordinator? I'm pretty sure. I'm sure he's done it.
Doug Peterson, I think, probably ran it back a year, 2.5 years or something like that. But that might be it.
Just for him from a continuity standpoint, this would be huge to have that. So yeah, I mean, I like where this organization is positioned right now. So shout out to our guy JG, friend of the program. Shout out to Tony Baselli and Liam Cohen.
Yeah, no, that's right. Jacksonville's turning the corner. We didn't even have Mayor of Jacksonville, Pete Prisco, on the show to talk about it. That's how good the Jacksonville Jaguars are. We don't need him to be their hype guy because they're their own hype guy. All right, that's it for this edition of The Perfect Fix. Thanks as always for joining us in the discussion, and be sure to subscribe if you like what we do here, and we will see you guys in the next one.